Legends, welcome back to another one. My name is Ben and this is Ash. We are roaming Coastlines, a family of 4 and 2 sausage dogs, currently traveling around Australia full time in our Troopy and Jayco Starcraft Outback Caravan.
So the Troopy is like a member of our family. So when we decided to do our big lap, upgrading or changing the vehicle was out of the question. But we did have to do a couple of things to it to make sure it was a bit easier for towing and for just general life on the road. So that's what we're going to talk about today. It's going to go through the mods and upgrades that we made to the Troopy to make it more tow friendly.
All right, legends. So a bit of tongue-in-cheek with the title of this video. And honestly, I know it's a super subjective topic and everyone's going to have a different opinion on what is the best tow car to tow a caravan around Australia. But honestly, for us, this thing is the perfect tow vehicle. We absolutely love this car, as Ash said before, and we wouldn't change it for the world. In the comments below, let us know your favourite vehicle or your dream vehicle for towing your car around Australia. So anyway, it is a 2015 Toyota Landcruiser VDJ Troopcarrier. We have the Workmate model. Basically, the things we're going to cover in this video today is we're going to do a really quick walk around, but mainly with the walk around, I'm going to focus on the mods that we've done for traveling around Australia and the mods that we've done for towing a caravan. If you want to see a more detailed walk around, I'll actually link up above the walk around I did a couple years ago of the Troopy, which focuses more on all the other kind of things we've done in a bit more detail. So we're going to answer a few questions that I regularly get asked in this video. So what is the Troopy like as a family car? It seems to be something that drives a lot of interest with people. What's it like to have a 2-door vehicle to use as a family car? So we're going to answer some questions about that. We're going to go into details about the mods that we've done to help with towing and just why we love this car. All right, let's start with the front of the car. All right, so we'll start briefly with the front of the car and I'll jump around and then we'll jump inside the car. So we have ARB Deluxe Bull Bar, some El Cheapo King Super Center lights, which honestly do a really good job for the amount that we use them. We are not running a winch, although I kind of wish that we did have one. Unit and aerial, which is a newer addition. Around the side, we got some ARB Deluxe side rails and then the side steps. All right, let's do the wheels and tires. All right, so wheels and tires. This is actually quite a new one for me, and this was a bit of an impulse purchase just before we left. So I took off the existing Steelies and the Toyota Open Countries, and I've chucked on some ROH Assaults, 16x9 in -12. I'm running -12 all around the car. Beforehand, I was running with the Steelies. I think I had -25s on the back and 0 on the front to compensate for the track. With heading around Australia, I kind of wanted to have all the wheels and tyres exactly the same, just in case we had a flat and just to make life easier. And to be honest, I've now driven this probably 10,000 Ks, driven it on the beach, and I'm not noticing any difference with the difference in offset. So very glad that I went this way, and I'll definitely keep sticking in this direction in the future. For tyres, I chucked on some Maxxis Razors, which I've never had before, but I've always heard good things. 285, 75, 16s, which is exactly what I had before. So far, I'm happy with them, no complaints. They feel pretty good in the wet. And yeah, I think they're pretty comparable to the Toyota Open Countries that I had before, and they're a lot cheaper, so pretty happy with that. So one other thing, and I'll probably touch on this inside, but one other thing I have added onto this is some iCheck TPMSs, which just basically monitor your tire pressures. Obviously the Land Cruiser doesn't have anything high tech like that, and I thought it would be handy, but I mainly got that for the caravan's sake, but obviously it's pretty handy to keep an eye on the car as well. So these big Dumbo ears are the Sanhema towing mirrors. So I basically went with these ones because they were a good price. I thought they looked as good as any of the other ones. I could also get my hands on them when I needed to. So yeah, jumped on it. Very easy install. So far, I've been really happy. It was quite an adjustment. Like, we'd had the existing stock Land Cruiser mirrors for like five or 6 years before I put these on. So when I first put them on, it was definitely a bit of a learning curve and it felt really weird to drive. But now that we've had them for a while, super used to them. What I also did with this, because I didn't want to have the mirrors cover up the badge, I actually did a little mod that I saw, I think maybe on YouTube, where we removed the badge, used a hacksaw, cut down the edge of the badge, and then kind of restuck it back on. I think it looks way better personally. Obviously everyone's going to have a different opinion on that, but I think it looks a lot neater way to do it. So I'm happy with how that came out. So Expedition Center Max Tracks table, and I'm running 4 Max Tracks. Previously I was only ever running 2, but I thought now that we're towing the Caravan, it'd be pretty handy to have an extra 2 for this trip. So it's epic that it can actually hold 4 on there and it doesn't really take up any extra space. We'll open up this bad boy. Super handy table. Usually when we go away without the van, we use this thing a hell of a lot. I found we haven't really been using it much on this trip because we use the one on the Caravan, but I'm sure it'll come a stage where it comes in very handy again. All right, Dashi 270-degree Eclipse awning. There's probably about 1 million videos on YouTube of these, so if you want to see them, just probably have a search. But I've had this thing for years. Very happy with it. Does what it's meant to do. Once again, a bit like this, we haven't actually been using this so far on our travels. It's just the difference in having a Caravan, I think. Hopefully kind of further in on the trip, we'll do a bit more trips away without the Caravan, and then like we'll start using this thing a bit more again. But as it stands at the moment, it hasn't come out yet on this trip. So underneath, which you can't see very well, but I'll put in some B-roll footage of this. I had installed about a year ago a 3-inch Outback exhaust, made by a local mob in Narangba in North Brisbane. So they actually installed it for me. Very good price, super happy with the product, haven't had any dramas. I think it gives a nice sound without being kind of really over the top and obnoxious. We can't really hear it in the cab unless you got your windows down and you really give it a bit of pedal. You don't really hear it at all. So I think overall very happy with that. Another one you can't see underneath is I had a full underbody clean and rust proofing done by Live a Little Landcruiser on the Sunshine Coast. Bartley is the guy's name, absolute legend. Honestly, one of the best things I have ever done to the car, and I highly regret not having it done years ago. It just makes it look that much better and cleaner underneath, and I think it'll give it a lot more protection. So nothing crazy going on under here, but a couple of newer additions since the last walk around. About a year ago, I had an MPC 1300 Newton meter heavy duty clutch installed. That's been about a year. Pretty happy with it. I think in hindsight now with the tune that I'll talk about in a second and towing, I would probably put the 1600 Newton meter on. But when I first put that on, it was like a different car to drive. So highly recommend getting something like that. It was a lot better than the stock clutch, I thought, anyway. What else have we had? We had a Provent catch can installed just before we left, just to help protect the engine. As I mentioned before, I also had a tune done. Probably had this done about a month before we left. We'd bought the Caravan and I took it on its first kind of maiden voyage. And man, it was just such a slug to tow with, hey. I already had all the other mods required to get the tune, so I ended up jumping at it. I spoke to Legendex at Narangba and ended up taking the car and they sorted me out. So honestly, if you have one of these cars and you haven't got a tune done, just get a tune done. I wish I had have done it when I first purchased the car. It is honestly like a different car to drive. Basically got about over 100 extra horsepower, I think. I'll actually put the data up on the screen, and I had over double the amount of torque, and it's just dead set like a completely different car to drive. It actually feels fast now without a Caravan. You can put your foot down and get on the highway super easy. And towing, yeah, completely different. It doesn't matter what gear you're in now, it just pulls super easy. So very, very happy with that. Safari R-Max snorkel, I've had this thing on for many years now, very happy with it. So Gullwing by Drifter, I've kind of gone across this in the other ones, but I have slightly changed how I'm using it inside. So basically I've got my full electrical setup. To touch on that really briefly, Red Arc Manager 30, 150 amp hour lithium, and I'm just running a King's 1500 watt inverter that kind of charges drone batteries and stuff like that. That's about all I use it for these days. in this little area in here. I'm actually using this hatch now to store like exercise equipment and stuff like that. So we've got like some yoga mats and some weights and things like that that we access pretty regularly. And I've got like my 2 front runner camp chairs just behind there. You can probably see too here, I've also got a couple of cruiser skateboards strapped to the top of the box. It's just an easy way to kind of keep them out of the way and be able to take them so us and the kids can play with them. All right, so this is a pretty new addition to the car and probably one of my favorite things that I've put on here for bang for buck before we left. So I wanted a way to easily take fishing rod and spear gun on the trip without having to try and store them in the back of the car. So I've got this, I think it's called a Supex or something like that. It's from basically Caravan Mob and it's made for carrying things like tent poles and everything, but I thought it would do a really good job for carrying fishing rods and spear guns. So in the front of that, got a spear gun, which I have actually been using a fair amount. And then in the back, I have a rod and reel. So one thing I was super keen to be able to do is to be able to have a rod and reel and not have to collapse it. So this makes it super easy to have a quick fish and then I can just chuck it away again. Overall, I'm super happy with that one. It only cost a couple of $100s to do. I also managed to get some PVC pole clamps that fit straight onto the Rhino rack as well. So it ended up being a really easy install. All right, so up on the roof, a new addition, a June 4-wheel drive hard case from Anaconda. Couple $100s for that. And the reason why I kind of got it, actually one thing you probably noticed in if you did watch the last one is I removed the rooftop tent. And the reason why I removed the rooftop tent was I kind of just didn't want the extra weight up there and it wasn't something that we'd use while we were away at the caravan. So I took it off and I chucked this hard case up there. So what I'm running in that at the moment is actually a spare toilet cassette for our caravan, plus a few other little bits of accessories. So it's a pretty easy way to keep that. Also, I have a Outcamp Starlink mount up there. So we're able to mount Starlink and use it while we're driving. And then what else have we got? So up the front, we have a hardcore, I think it's a 200 watt solar panel. That thing does an amazing job. Like this battery in this thing is literally always on 100% pretty much. Like even when I don't drive the car for days and days, it's always on 100%. So very happy with that thing. On the back, I'm running a Drifter Stockton wheel bag. I kind of just needed another one because I put the original wheel bag on this onto the back of the caravan. And I saw this one on sale, so I jumped on it. Overall, it's all right. Like it's pretty big. It fits a lot in there. I'm not super happy with how it mounts. The clips are in a pretty terrible spot to be able to mount to the rear wheel. It makes it really difficult. So that's probably the one thing I'm not happy with. But apart from that, it's really good. It's got like a removable bag inside, PVC bag and stuff like that. And I just keep like water hoses and silage hoses and stuff like that for the caravan in there. Plus like wetsuits and anything like that. So we have our trailer plug and we also have a Heyman Reese tow set up on there as well. All of those things are new and they're only done in like a few months before we left. Overall, happy with how it's all going, doing exactly what it's meant to do. We'll have a look in the back now. So probably one of the first things you can see is these dodgy window installation that we did just before we left. So we decided that we wanted to keep the dogs in the back and I thought that it'd be a good idea to kind of protect them from the heat a bit. Obviously, in hindsight, it would have been pretty epic to order some like proper window installation ones, but we needed it in a tight time frame. So I saw a mod on YouTube of someone doing it with these. They're like I think they're like Kmart exercise things or something like that, and they're basically foil on the outside, foam on the inside, and about $15 each. So I thought it was worth a crack, and honestly, they do an incredible job of keeping the heat out. Like, I feel like the back is cooler than the front most of the times. We've got them on the side windows and the back here. Very happy with them for the cost. They probably don't look as pretty as what some of the expensive ones are you can get, but they do a fantastic job. The dogs absolutely love being in the back of the car. It's like their little secret hidey comfort place. So I'm very glad we did that, and it keeps them out of the front of the car and under our feet and everything like that. So yeah, super happy with that little mod. All right, as touched on in previous ones, Bushman 85 litre upright fridge. I've had this thing for years. Does exactly what it's meant to do, no dramas. It's been running 24/7 for the past 2 months now. No dramas with it. So yeah, very happy. One of the things I kind of needed to change around with this trip was kind of free up a bunch of space. So I've kind of like adjusted what's in the drawers and everything like that. And I bought a bunch of like these Kings stick-on bags. So like, as you can see, my compressor hose, that plugs in over the other side. I've got the ARB twin compressor underneath the wing over there. But yeah, I'm using a bunch of these bags. Basically, one drawer here, I have, I'm running like all of our wetsuits, snorkeling gear, spearfishing stuff. What else? Like a collapsible fishing rod. Then the bottom drawer underneath, we are running, like it's a camp cooking drawer, which is what it's always been. And then this drawer is just a bunch of other miscellaneous stuff as well that I'm using. As you can see, skateboards on the back. Yeah, so one other addition is, and I'll probably show you on the inside, is a rear net. So I originally had one, but I've actually added a second one. So it allows us to put like a surfboard and bodyboard up there in the kind of the dead space on the roof. And so far that's worked really good. Behind the dogs' beds there is what we do is we actually put our Ziggy barbecue in there and strap that down as well. So it's a good use of kind of some dead space up towards the rear seats of the kids. Oh, probably one thing I didn't touch on, Thorburns 45 litre water tank, which is plumbed in and comes out a shower on the side. All right, we'll jump in the car now. All right, guys, so one of the first things you'll see in the front here is another two of the Kings bags, which I've got kind of just to store easy to grab things in there. Very happy having them. It's kind of keeping the inside a bit cleaner. As anyone with kids would know, it's bloody hard to keep your car clean. So I'm not sure if I actually had these on the last walk around, but these are just some eBay special armrests. Had them for a fair while now, and honestly, I wouldn't be without them. They do such an epic job for the price. So even though I've got the tune, I am still running an iDrive unit. Always been really happy with how it performs, so I just kind of left it in there once I had the tune. Still got the same Pioneer head unit, which honestly does the job, Apple CarPlay and everything like that. But one little addition I did get off Amazon while I've been on the road is this little Bluetooth plug-in. So basically what this thing does is plugs into the USB Apple CarPlay outlet and allows you to have wireless Apple CarPlay in a head unit that doesn't actually have wireless Apple CarPlay. So that thing's honestly working amazing. I think it costs like 30 or 40 bucks. Super happy with it. So this big monstrosity is the Caravan rear view camera screen. So I believe I had one of these on the previous walk around, but this is actually a new updated model magnetic phone mount for the iPhone. So this one's actually wireless charging, and yeah, it does an epic job. I think it's like $30 or $40. It keeps the phone on so securely, even when going off-road. And yeah, honestly, I wouldn't be without it. Uniden X66, I believe from memory, UHF. It was just like a good value one that came with aerial and everything like that. So very easy install. I've been super happy with it. Honestly, like, I wouldn't be without having a UHF when kind of doing this kind of driving. I reckon as a safety measure, like just with like the massive oversized vehicles and everything along these kind of roads where we are at the moment, like it's such a cheap thing as a safety measure. So yeah, highly recommend having one of them if you're going to be traveling around Australia. Alrighty, in the back, excuse the mess. This is a full-time traveling car at the moment. So it's pretty hard to keep it clean, but we kind of do the best we can. So these are the cargo nets that I was talking about. So this actually runs from in the front here all the way right up to the very back. So I can keep like surfboards, bodyboards, chuck like jackets and stuff like that up there. And it's just a really good use of space. 2 single tech-safe seats in the back. So we got these Explore Life seat organisers just before we left as a way to hopefully get the kids to kind of keep their stuff clean. Very impressed with the quality of these. Hey, I had a look around at a lot of different ones, and these kind of look like they'll do the best job for us. So yeah, I was really impressed how they rocked up, and yeah, the quality of them. As you can see, it doesn't always work with keeping things organized. All right, guys. So what we're first going to answer is what the Troopy's like as a family vehicle. It's one of the most common things that gets asked, and I actually wanted Ash to sit in on this video because I'm super biased when it comes to the Troopy. Like, it's always been my dream car since I was younger, and I absolutely froth on Troopy. So to have a bit more of an unbiased opinion in here is probably a good thing. So what we might do is talk about our opinions of the Troopy as a family vehicle, and then what I might do is run through some of the most common questions I get asked. I regularly get sent questions about Troopies specifically related to families on Instagram and YouTube and stuff like that, and I'm regularly answering stuff. So what I might do is I might pick out some of the most common ones there, and we might go through them now. So probably, Ash, what's been your experience of having the Troopy as a family car? So guys, we've had this car for over 6 years now. So we've had it with both kids being little, and they're obviously 5 and 7 now. So we've kind of experienced the whole lot of the Troopy feelings with owning a car for a young family, really.
Yeah, we got the Troopy just before Noah was born.
Yep.
So when we are back at home on Bribey, we have a second car, and the Troopy was more of a adventure vehicle, and
Yep.
it wasn't the daily driver.
No.
So but that didn't stop us from taking the kids on trips. We took Noah to Morton when he was 6 months old.
Yep. I think we've done trips like Fraser. Well, honestly, we've done a whole bunch of trips, and some of them are probably featured in older videos on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, so and as far as getting the kids in and out of the car, that's probably an interesting one. Because Ben and I are both I'm average height, but Ben is quite tall. We used to get the kids when they were tiny babies in and out of the window.
Hopefully I can find some old video of this. I actually don't know if I've got anything around, but...
Which everyone used to get a good laugh out of, because they were like, what are you getting out of the window? And we pull out like a 6-month-old child. But yeah, that's the biggest biggest...
I guess negative or what
yeah.
people are worried about. Like, it's a common question what it's like having a 2-door vehicle with like young kids and stuff. So we often found if we really wanted to, we could put the seat forward and like Ash would just climb in the back and then clip them in and everything like that. But
as soon as they can walk or and clamber over the seats, they froth on it. It's their favourite thing.
It is honestly like a highlight for the kids to get to climb in the front of the car and then climb in the back up into their seat, really.
Yeah, they're a lot more used to it now. It's just like a daily thing. But before it was the daily driver, they would just get so excited about going in the Troopy.
The other thing we really noticed with the kids when they were younger, and a reason why they have always loved the car, is the fact that the seats are up so much higher than a normal car in the back. So basically, once they were forward facing, like they were able to see out the window while we were traveling. So, which was actually a really good thing with young kids. Keeps them a bit more occupied. And honestly, the Troopy to our kids is like part of the family, and there would be a lot of tears if we got rid of this car.
Mine.
yeah, mine too. So one of the most other common questions I really get is what seats we're using in the back. So we're running 2 single tech-safe seats. I believe from memory I had them installed by a place in Brendale, Queensland called Caddy Storage. I think they do all like van seating and everything like that. The seats definitely aren't cheap. I think they're all, at that stage, this was a long time ago now, but they were at least a couple of $1,000s per seat. That include like installation, engineering, everything like that. The seats actually include like a built-in ISOFIX harness. Is that what they're called? Like an anchor points. Yeah. So they basically include all that. So once you kind of have these seats installed, they're ready to go with young kids. So that makes it super simple, but obviously not a very cheap exercise to have installed in the first place. But overall, like, we've been super happy with the seats. They've held up really good. They seem like really, really good quality. And obviously the kids are always in a child seat, so they don't really get to feel the comfort of the seat. But
do you want to explain why we have 2 single seats?
So like with this car, we've actually had a few different setups planned over the years. And look, I'll talk about that later with the Troopy. But basically, yeah, we had this single, then we've added another single, and you never know down the track, we might have to add something else. So Yeah, that's a really big positive with the Troopy is it's super adaptable to your family needs because it has a lot of space and there's a lot of work that can be done aftermarket with it.
Well, yeah, because it's basically a shell when you get it.
Yep.
Another question that gets asked is what the Troopy is like as a daily driver, which up until we were travelling full-time, it wasn't. So it was a little bit of an adjustment, but we were both pretty used to driving the Troopy in, suburban city situations. It wasn't.
We've had it for a very long time. So, like, even when we go on trips and that, we're always having to drive through busy cities and everything like that. Luckily for us, we have always had a second car when we're at home. So we've used that as our kind of runabout car around everywhere.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to not have to drive to my job and I could walk. So honestly, the Troopy just sat there in the garage most of the time when we're at home, apart from when it was used on adventures. So
yeah, I guess the biggest thing is obviously fuel. It uses a lot more fuel. It's not as economic, but and there are like height considerations.
Yeah, particularly shopping centres and stuff
car
like
parks
that.
And but other than that, if you're used to driving a manual car, then it's pretty.
It's just probably a little bit bigger than some other cars, and that takes a bit more practice at manoeuvring in tight spaces. But apart from that, like it's definitely doable as a daily driver. I probably like your number one preference wouldn't be to have it as a daily driver while you had really young kids. Once your kids are old enough, as Ash said, to crawl and walk and that, I don't think it makes much difference at all. But I think the ideal scenario if you had a really little baby would be to have another car just while they're growing up a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So what we might talk about now is just why we love the Troopy so much. So for me, one of the main points is the reliability. Like these things just keep on going, and like all you got to do is look at some of the old rust buckets on the road to just show how reliable and how great these things are. Like they just go forever and ever and ever. We've had this car for over 6 years now, and I think the only kind of drama we've had with it is an alternator's gone. Apart from that, the thing, touch wood, the thing has been flawless. Like, it does exactly what we want it to do. It gets us to where we want to go, and it just keeps on going and going and going. The other thing that I really like about it is just how customizable it is. Like, as we kind of touched on before, we've kind of in our maybe second or third.
This is a debate.
Yeah.
What version? What iteration?
What iteration of Troopy rear setup we're on?
I think we're on 3.
Yeah.
But you think we're on 2.
It just depends. We're on 2 or 3. Like, but what that shows is just how customizable the car is. Like, you can change the car as your needs change or as your ideas change. As we've had more kids, we've kind of had to change the setup, and we've still got this amazing car there, but inside is completely different. So,
and we've learnt a lot too.
We've learned a lot. Like I would absolutely love, and I'm hoping maybe later on this year when we get home again, I can do another completely new set.
Troopy 4.0.
Troopy 4.0 in preparation for lap number 2. I've learnt so much, and I would love to have another crack at doing a build out again. So we'll see. And look, that's the other great thing about the cars is how many people in that kind of circumstance would actually just rebuild their existing car. Like most people just want to buy a new car all the time, but we just want to keep this car and just run it into the ground for another 15 years or so. That being said, if I had the option to get my hands on a brand spanking new V8, then I would probably jump on it.
Can you still get the V8s?
Well, you can't order them brand new, but you can kind of get your hands on them, but they're too expensive. And at the end of the day, it's pretty much the same thing as this. So I think I'll just stick to the one we know and love and just keep refitting it out again.
So one thing with kids is mess.
Yep.
So much mess. Sand, dirt. Cashews, almonds, various food items.
Drinks.
The inside of the Troopy right now is a state. And it has been a state since we left. Because but the amazing part is we've got vinyl all over the floor.
So good. Honestly, the best thing ever for your car, particularly doing what we're doing.
Yeah, so I just sweep it out. So that's a big plus, I think, is having the vinyl.
Honestly, if you think that you can travel Australia in your car with carpets and keep them clean, you're particularly with kids and dogs, you're absolutely dreaming. Like, I never believed that the car would get as dirty inside as what it is now. When you're living out of it full time, it's so hard to keep the car clean.
Yeah. And Ben's always been really meticulous with making sure it's nice and clean and tidy, and so you've had to learn.
Had to adjust my OCD-ness and stuff like that. Just so much dust inside, so much dirt, sand, everything. So yeah, definitely an adjustment, but I would hate to have a car with carpets.
Yeah.
Like, it would be so tricky, hey?
Yeah. Now, being a big car, we can fit a fair amount of stuff in there.
It's definitely one of the biggest positives with this thing.
Yeah. So at the moment, we basically have a full camping setup.
Yep.
In the back of the Troopy that just stays there.
It's just separate from our caravan. So if we go out and we want to camp without the caravan, or if we wanted to go and have lunch or dinner away from the caravan, everything is pretty much in there.
It's already in there. We don't have to put anything in there. And we also have the fridge in the back as well, which we use as like our second fridge, because the one in the caravan isn't massive.
Yep.
So we've got a lot of space in the back. So I think that's a pretty big positive.
Basically just like a gigantic family wagon. So think of a family wagon and then add like almost 1.5 meters of drawer space in the back. So you've almost got like that space of a ute, but in a wagon like that, which just allows us to carry a lot of stuff. And it's super handy for us because we don't have a massive caravan with a lot of storage. So if we didn't have a vehicle like a Troopy, we would be struggling quite significantly to take stuff away for a year, or we would have to have the roof just massively packed out. So, having the Troopy doing a trip like this, it massively helps us out.
Yeah.
Probably, and the last point of why we love the Troopy so much is just, even though they have gotten quite common and popular probably since COVID time.
Especially in Western Australia.
Yeah, so many Troopies.
So many Troopies here.
But still the fact of how unique they are. Like, you actually don't see a lot of Troopies towing caravans around. Well, we haven't in our travels. So, and Ash makes quite a joke of a lot of Troopies that we do see with a caravan. They're towing like an older looking caravan on the on the back. So, but honestly, we haven't seen a hell of a lot of Troopies towing caravans, and yeah, I think that kind of just makes it a little bit different. You know, like you're seeing 79 series, Rams. What else do we see heaps of? You see a lot of like the Isuzu, D-Maxes, heaps of dual cabs and everything like that towing, but not a lot of Troopies. So just something a little bit different, and it's kind of like our thing. So I love it. Like, and it always gets like a bit of a look when you go into places, the Troopy and stuff like that.
It's always nice that when you're driving in places, you know, you'll get away from a fellow
Troopy owner, yeah. So it doesn't matter where you are in Australia, like you always get a wave off someone. So it's really nice and a bit of a special feeling, I think.
Yeah, we love the Troopy.
We do. So next up is, what is the Troopy like for towing? So obviously with the walk around before, I touched on a bunch of the mods that we've done, which have really helped make it a better tow vehicle. We only got to use the car once before we did the tune. So obviously I haven't got a lot of experience of what it's actually like to tow without the tune. But overall, so we have basically been getting between 17 and 19 litres per 100 Ks, which I'm pretty happy with, to be honest. I think that that's pretty good economy for a box-shaped V8 towing a caravan. Like, these things are not aerodynamic. And I've seen some kind of figures that other people have like listed from patrols and things like that. And to be honest, I think the 17 to 19 is pretty bloody good. Very happy with it. And that's not taking it easy at all. Like, we're definitely not going 80 Ks on the highway or anything like that. So yeah, very, very happy with that. Definitely one of the best things we did was that tune, but it's made a significant difference to what the car's like to drive with and without the caravan. Like, it's gone from a turtle, and now it actually feels like it has usable power. You can put your foot down, and it actually feels quite fast when you get rid of the caravan off the back.
Oh, yeah.
Just a completely different car to drive, and yeah, very, very happy with that. One of the best things I've done, and the only thing I regret is I didn't get a tune done like 5 or 6 years ago because we've been missing out for that amount of time. So that's definitely made a massive difference, and I think it's made it like a quite capable tow vehicle.
Yeah. Now, the Troopy, as Ben mentioned, is a box.
Yep.
It's quite tall. So handling when it's windy, the drive, it's not exactly like the most comfortable ride.
No, not
at the time. And that's just because of its shape, and also just how the car is. Where I'm super used to it now. I didn't have any experience with towing at all before we got, I'd never even towed a trailer before getting this Caravan and driving. And I can do it. And
Yeah.
I can do it easily now. It just takes a bit of getting used to. But
honestly, it seems to handle really good. Like, I don't have any experience towing a Caravan with any other vehicle, so I can't comment on that. But you do read and hear about a lot of like horror stories of towing, like lots of like swaying and wobble and stuff like that. And we don't get any. No, we don't get any of that. Like, only issue, which I think you'd get with any vehicle at all, is when it's crazy, like crosswinds and stuff like that. You can feel everything getting blown around a bit. But I would say that would be the case in any vehicle, and they're probably the days you don't really want to drive. But apart from that, like, we don't really get any kind of sway, wobble, anything like that. The power, like, it pulls it along really easy. You can pull out onto highways really easy when we want, and I think overall it does it really easily, and it's a quite good experience to tow. As Ash said, it's a bumpy car, like it always has been, so it doesn't really make any difference with the Caravan. It is what it is. Yeah.
One of the best mods that we did before we left was the reverse camera. So we always had a reverse camera on the Troopy, but it was attached to the
spare wheel.
Spare wheel. But Ben and Barry, Ben's dad, moved it down to the rear bar, and it's just above where the hitch is, and it makes it so we can we hitch up now
very
quickly. We don't even, like, there's some hand signals involved, but other than that, like, it's a pretty seamless experience. So I think that's pretty. I'm not the one who's reversing it back, so that's
honestly it makes it so low stress and so easy. So what we did was we had the standard Pioneer head unit and with the reverse camera, and we basically just took the reverse camera and drilled a hole in the rear bar, and we've mounted it just above the tow hitch in the perfect spot, so you can actually see the top of the tow hitch and everything, and it makes it super easy. Like, I hear some pretty stressful moments with other people in caravan parks and that trying to hitch up, and we don't really seem to have any of that. So that was by far the best thing we've done to prepare the car for towing full time. So it makes a massive difference, I think. All right, legends. So I think that about wraps up our waffling on in another one of these episodes. Thank you so much for watching and taking the time to watch our videos. If you guys haven't checked out, if you're new around here and you haven't checked out any of our traveling videos, we're trying to release videos once a week at the moment. So jump on, check out some of those, kind of see where the Troopy gets out to, see where the Caravan gets out to. We're having the best time ever. We've been on the road now for about 5 months, I think it is, and we have no plans to stop anytime soon. So yeah, thank you once again for joining us. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Anyway, legends, I hope everyone is doing well, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one.